My name's Fallon, and that night at my sister's birthday, my mom raised her glass with a beaming smile. "She's the daughter I'm most proud of," she announced to the table, everyone clapping as my sister posed under the rooftop lights. Then, without missing a beat, she quietly slid a $1 bill toward me across the crisp tablecloth. I stared at it, my heartbeat steady, the crisp edge of the bill catching the glow from the candles. The total for the evening, $20,000 for the venue, catering, and all the extravagance, hung in the air like an unspoken demand. But that single dollar wasn't about the money. It was the final insult after years of being the one who always picked up the tab, literally and figuratively. Cameras flashed, champagne fizzed, and the waiter paused mid-step. I could feel the weight of the moment, the way the air thickened as heads turned. My mom leaned in, her voice low but firm. "You handle it, Fallon. You always do." Forks clattered softly. Even my boyfriend shifted beside me, his hand brushing mine under the table. I forced a smile, but inside something uncoiled, years of silence, of watching her pour everything into my sister while I scraped by. The bill wasn't just numbers. It was a receipt for every overlooked achievement, every hand-me-down expectation. 8 minutes later, their perfect celebration collapsed. A guest's phone captured it all, and by morning, the video started spreading. But the real unraveling came after the calls, the accusations, the fallout that exposed cracks we'd all ignored. I didn't scream or storm out right away. I waited, let the tension build, and said something that froze the room solid. "If this moment reminds you of times you had to stay strong when no one stood up for you, share it in the comments. Hit like and subscribe. Your story deserves to be heard too." Growing up in our high-rise apartment in Miami, the setup seemed ideal with its spacious rooms and constant hum of city life below. My mom controlled every aspect, from daily routines to long-term plans, treating the family like an extension of her vision. She directed most of her attention toward my sister Giselle, whose outgoing personality won over teachers and neighbors alike. During weekend barbecues with extended family, people would compliment her creativity, forecasting success in creative fields, and Mom would agree enthusiastically, as if shaping that future herself. Mom committed $10,000 annually to Giselle's extracurricular pursuits, covering fees for specialized acting seminars and performance groups that built her confidence. When I asked about joining similar activities for creative writing or experiments, she'd mention limited funds and recommend free community workshops. I'd attend those sessions alone, taking notes in dim halls while Giselle refined her routines at home, her enthusiasm spilling into every conversation. Entering my early teens, the differences became clearer. Giselle received wardrobe updates for her school plays, often $500 per set with matching shoes, while I relied on basic items from discount stores. Mom framed it as strategic investment, but it pained me when she'd overlook my academic awards, yet highlight Giselle's minor roles. At 16, I secured a waitress position at a downtown diner, making $15 hourly to fund my basics and contribute to utility payments during slower months for the household. Dad monitored from his dedicated workspace, focused on client dealings and market trends. He'd acknowledge Giselle's efforts with a quick thumbs up, but avoided addressing Mom's preferences directly. That lack of engagement isolated me further, reinforcing my position as the independent one who managed without fanfare. In private moments, envy would surface sharply, but I'd suppress it, reasoning that loyalty required sacrifice, regardless of imbalance. The minor slights accumulated steadily. For instance, when Mom funded Giselle's entry into a youth theater competition with entry fees and props, disregarding my suggestion for a modest book club subscription. I adjusted by tracking my tips meticulously, but the unfairness lingered internally. It signaled an eventual stand I couldn't yet envision. To expand on those years, one summer Giselle attended an intensive workshop in Los Angeles, sponsored entirely by Mom's arrangements, while I stayed local, juggling shifts to save for school trips. Another time, Mom organized a family photo session centered on Giselle's emerging style, skipping any input from me. These experiences taught me resilience, yet they also planted seeds of doubt about my value. As I balanced school and work, customers at the diner sometimes shared their own stories of sibling dynamics, which mirrored mine in subtle ways. I'd listen while refilling drinks, internalizing that my situation wasn't unique, but still unresolved. Dad's detachment persisted through it all, his brief interactions limited to practical advice rather than emotional support. Mom's oversight extended to daily choices like prioritizing Giselle's dietary preferences in grocery runs. Reflecting now, those patterns shaped my outlook profoundly. I'd come home exhausted from late shifts, hearing Giselle discuss her latest ideas with Mom and wonder why my efforts went unnoticed. The jealousy I'd feel in those quiet hours motivated me to excel independently, though it masked growing frustration. Foreshadowing later events, I began questioning the cost of maintaining that uneven harmony. As I entered my teenage years, the disparities sharpened in ways that demanded more from me. I took on extra shifts at local cafes, pulling in $20,000 annually through tips and wages to build a college fund. Meanwhile, Mom arranged $5,000 trips for Giselle to network with content creators in New York, framing them as essential for her budding influencer career. These outings included photo shoots and brand meetups that boosted her online presence early. Heading into college, I enrolled in a teaching program at a state university, covering $30,000 per year in tuition through loans and scholarships. My living setup was a compact apartment near the Miami shoreline where I budgeted strictly for rent and groceries. In contrast, Giselle explored creative paths without financial worry, her path smoothed by family support. One petty incident stood out when Mom shared a glowing social media update celebrating Giselle's 10,000 followers milestone, complete with emojis and tags, yet she skipped acknowledging my $50,000 student debt burden in any conversation. During breaks, I wired $2,000 to Giselle for high-end camera gear suited for her Miami lifestyle videos, which secured her deals worth $5,000 per sponsored post. She accepted the help casually without a direct thank you, moving on to her next project as if it were expected. This pattern reinforced my role as the unseen provider in the background. Dad steered clear of any disputes, burying himself in business conferences where he'd negotiate deals for his firm. Mom handled the household budget with precision, allocating resources predominantly toward Giselle's ventures. In quiet reflections, I pondered how undervalued my contributions felt, like an afterthought in their priorities. The imbalance gnawed at me during study sessions where I'd calculate loan repayments while hearing about Giselle's latest collaborations. Over time, I maintained composure for the sake of family unity, suppressing urges to confront the favoritism. Frustration simmered beneath the surface, growing with each overlooked effort. Once, at a casual dinner gathering, I nearly voiced my frustrations over the unequal treatment, but held back, opting instead for a neutral topic to avoid tension. That restraint preserved the facade, though it amplified my internal conflict. To delve deeper, Giselle's profile expanded rapidly thanks to those investments landing her features on local blogs. I'd watch from afar, managing my coursework and part-time income streams without similar backing. Another layer emerged when Mom upgraded Giselle's phone plan for better connectivity during travels, dismissing my request for basic textbook assistance as unnecessary. These dynamics influenced my choices profoundly, pushing me toward self-reliance in academics and finances. I'd network with professors for internship opportunities, securing placements that paid modestly but built my resume. Giselle, on the other hand, leveraged family connections for guest spots on podcasts, further elevating her reach. In hindsight, those years honed my determination, yet they also highlighted the emotional toll of constant sidelining. I'd confide in close friends about the setup, gaining perspective on similar experiences, which helped me cope temporarily. Dad's evasion continued unchecked, his focus on professional growth, leaving little room for domestic mediation. Mom's financial oversight extended to monitoring expenses closely, often questioning my spending while approving Giselle's requests swiftly. This control mechanism deepened the divide, making me question the equity in our household. Despite it all, I pressed forward, graduating with honors in education, though the achievement passed without fanfare from home. The buildup of these instances created a foundation for later decisions where silence no longer sufficed. I'd review bank statements late at night, noting transfers I'd made, and feel a mix of pride and bitterness. Uncertainty loomed in those moments, wondering if voicing concerns would alter anything or merely escalate matters. Friends' advice during coffee meetups encouraged me to speak up, but I delayed, fearing disruption to our routines. One specific semester, I juggled 3 classes and an unpaid practicum, scraping together funds for supplies, while Giselle filmed sponsored content from exotic locations funded by Mom. The contrast fueled quiet determination, leading me to apply for grants independently. These efforts paid off with small awards, but the lack of family recognition stung sharply. Years after college graduation, the invitation arrived in a shimmering envelope sealed with gold foil that caught the light from my desk lamp. Inside the card detailed Giselle's 30th birthday celebration at a rooftop venue overlooking the Miami Ocean, complete with a personalized note from Mom emphasizing her success as an influencer, earning $150,000 annually. The event promised live music and catered dishes, a fitting tribute to her achievements, with posts raking in $5,000 each from brands. I set the card down and immediately checked my bank app, calculating recent deposits from my teaching job. My boyfriend Heath glanced over from the couch where he was reviewing emails, noticing my expression. We discussed the potential costs, openly estimating the total bill could hit $20,000 based on similar past gatherings with open bars and decorations. Heath suggested I confront the pattern this time, pointing out how unfair it felt for me to cover portions repeatedly. His encouragement stemmed from our shared talks about fairness, urging me to prioritize my own stability. Anticipation mixed with unease, as I recalled previous occasions where bills migrated my way without question. My stomach tightened at the thought, a familiar knot from years of similar setups. While scrolling through social feeds that evening, I spotted Mom's latest update praising Giselle's recent $50,000 collaboration with a luxury resort chain, complete with photos and captions about her hard work. Yet my own $60,000 annual teaching salary went unmentioned even after I'd shared news of a student success story via text. The Miami atmosphere added to the buildup, with its humid evenings and distant waves crashing below high-rises, masking the underlying pretense of our family's affluent lifestyle. From our childhood home in the tower, views of yachts and palm-lined streets projected an image of ease, but it concealed the ongoing favoritism that left me preparing mentally for another unbalanced night. I packed my outfit carefully, choosing something professional yet understated, while Heath reminded me of my worth beyond financial roles. To ease the nerves, I reviewed my calendar, noting upcoming parent-teacher conferences that demanded focus. Heath joined me in the kitchen later, brewing coffee as we brainstormed responses to possible scenarios. He shared examples from his own family dynamics, suggesting phrases like pointing out shared responsibilities. The conversation shifted to lighter topics, but the underlying worry persisted about the evening's demands. One detail that amplified my apprehension was a recent email from Mom casually mentioning Giselle's latest endorsement deal without inquiring about my classroom challenges. It echoed the petty oversights that had piled up, like when she'd funded Giselle's wardrobe refresh for events, but dismissed my request for conference travel reimbursement. These moments fueled a quiet resolve, though I pushed it aside temporarily to finalize preparations. Heath accompanied me to select accessories, offering opinions on what suited the occasion. We laughed about past mishaps at similar functions, but the humor faded when I voiced concerns over the symbolic $1 slide amid the extravagance. He affirmed that standing firm could shift things, drawing from his experiences in corporate settings where boundaries mattered. As the date approached, I double-checked reservations for parking near the venue, aware of the city's traffic patterns. The invitation's details replayed in my mind, highlighting Giselle's milestones while implying my attendance as obligatory support. Heath's steady presence helped, but the dread lingered over the financial undercurrent. Little did I know that night would change everything. The night of Giselle's birthday finally came. I reached the rooftop venue in Miami ahead of schedule, surveying the layout with tables set for 50 guests and a bar stocked with imported wines. The setup exuded luxury with floral centerpieces and a DJ booth ready for the evening. Giselle arrived 10 minutes later, stepping out in a $1,000 ensemble that hugged her figure, her hair styled in loose waves. Mom embraced her right away, exclaiming how radiant she looked, then turned to me and remarked that I appeared responsible as always, her tone casual, yet pointed. Dinner commenced with appetizers circulating on trays, leading into main courses of grilled seafood and salads. Toasts kicked off soon after, guests raising glasses to Giselle's influencer status, which generated $150,000 annually from video sponsorships and affiliate links. I stayed silent, methodically slicing my salad while the accolades continued, each one underscoring her accomplishments. Heath, positioned next to me, murmured reassurances about my strength, his words providing a quiet buffer against the one-sided praise. In the first to second minute phase, after dessert plates landed with chocolate tarts and fruit selections, the waiter approached with the bill folder. Mom took it smoothly, then slid a lone $1 bill my way as a token gesture, stating family does its part for the overall $20,000 expense, covering the rooftop rental and full-service staff. The document listed itemized charges for lighting, rentals, and valet parking figures that loomed large in the dim ambiance. During the third to fifth minute phase, I rejected the bill outright, declaring, "Let your pride cover it tonight." Mom's face tightened, demanding why I embarrassed her in public. Giselle jumped in, accusing me of jealousy over her success. I responded by recounting times I'd paid for family outings without reimbursement. My tone steady despite the rising volume. Heath gripped my arm lightly, offering silent backing as the exchange intensified. Mom countered that her investments in Giselle created opportunities for all, but I pressed on about the lack of equity in our roles. The sixth to eighth minute phase delivered the twist when a guest discreetly started recording on their device, capturing the dialogue from a side angle. Heath interjected firmly, labeling the family's patterns as toxic and unsustainable. Mom retorted sharply, calling his input intrusive, while Giselle pleaded for calm to salvage the mood. The video's presence sparked whispers, and attendees began departing, mumbling excuses about work obligations or traffic. Heath's statement hung heavy, prompting a few nods from distant relatives before they exited. The Miami humidity wrapped around us like a blanket, intensifying the discomfort as beads of perspiration formed and the ocean's salt air mixed with lingering food scents. Servers halted their rounds, stacking dishes awkwardly as the crowd thinned. Dad tried interposing with a vague suggestion to table the discussion, but his words dissolved amid the exodus. Giselle's attempts to redirect attention failed, her earlier poise now replaced by visible agitation. Guests filed toward the elevators, some casting backward glances filled with curiosity. The rooftop cleared rapidly, leaving echoes of footsteps on the tiled floor. Amid the unraveling, Mom's insistence on tradition clashed with my refusal, heightening the standoff. Giselle voiced frustration over the ruined vibe, but I stood my ground without apology. Heath suggested we step away, his intervention underscoring the shift. The guest pocketed their phone, unaware of the clip's potential reach. Tension peaked as the last stragglers left the once festive space, now stark under the night sky. These phases cascaded quickly, each building to the inevitable breakdown. The sensory details from the warm air and fading music amplified every moment, turning the gathering into a memory of confrontation. The morning after the party brought a flood of notifications. My phone screen lit up with missed calls from Mom, Dad, and Giselle, their names stacking up like accusations. I saved the voicemails without listening, immediately treating them as potential evidence for later reflection. Heath suggested I take a moment to breathe before responding, but the urgency felt palpable. Dad rang first around noon, his voice filtering through from his office line amid background keyboard taps. He attempted to mediate, proposing we meet for coffee to smooth things over. I challenged his long-standing silence on the favoritism, pointing out how he'd witnessed the imbalances without stepping in. The exchange grew strained, with him defending it as keeping peace, but I pressed that true harmony required fairness. The call concluded abruptly when he sighed and said we'd talk later, the line clicking off in tension. Later that afternoon, Giselle texted, insisting on a meetup. We convened at a cafe overlooking the Miami shoreline where waves lapped steadily against the sand. She launched into blame right away, claiming my outburst had tarnished her reputation among peers. I explained it stemmed from years of unequal treatment, but she dismissed it as overreaction. As we spoke, her phone buzzed with alerts. She showed me desperate messages about her follower count dropping by 5,000 overnight due to circulating clips. Despite the vulnerability, she refused to acknowledge her role in perpetuating the dynamic, ending the encounter on a sour note without resolution. The video from the guest began gaining traction on X and TikTok by evening, shared initially in private groups before exploding publicly. Comments flooded in, criticizing the family's favoritism, with users tagging Giselle and questioning her authenticity. Phrases like classic golden child syndrome and unfair parent vibes dominated threads, some garnering thousands of likes. Backlash escalated quickly, leading to her losing a $10,000 collaboration with a local fashion label that pulled out, citing brand alignment issues. Sponsors monitored the sentiment shift, and her direct messages filled with cancellations from smaller partners wary of association. Escalation continued when Mom called that night, her tone laced with fury. She branded me ungrateful for disrupting the event, demanding an apology to restore order. I countered by highlighting the hypocrisy in her expectations, refusing to yield. During the conversation, she referenced specific moments from the footage, her voice rising as she accused me of deliberate sabotage. Dad exhibited early stress signs during a follow-up text exchange, mentioning headaches and difficulty concentrating at work, symptoms he'd never admitted before. The pressure from the viral spread compounded his unease, hinting at deeper health concerns brewing. He described skipping lunch due to nausea, attributing it directly to the family's public exposure. To elaborate on the day's progression, I replayed the voicemails in solitude, noting Mom's initial message laced with disappointment over the scene. Giselle's call log showed repeated attempts, her persistence mirroring her online damage control efforts. Public reactions varied, some sympathizing with my stance, while others defended traditional family roles, but the negative outweighed. Heath provided a sounding board as I processed, suggesting I document everything for clarity. The cafe meeting replayed in my mind, Giselle's defensive posture and quick glances at her screen underscoring her priorities. Viral threads dissected the footage frame by frame, amplifying the family's internal rift to thousands. One comment thread speculated on inheritance implications, drawing hundreds of replies. Dad's symptoms worried me briefly, but I focused on my boundaries. Mom's second voicemail escalated her demands, threatening to cut ties if I didn't comply. The backlash's ripple effect hit Giselle's analytics hard, with engagement rates plummeting alongside her subscriber numbers. Additional comments accused her of entitlement, further eroding her online standing. These developments unfolded rapidly, each building on the previous night's chaos. I archived screenshots of key comments, preparing for potential further confrontations. Heath's advice centered on self-care, recommending I limit exposure to the online noise. The cafe's neutral ground had failed to bridge gaps, leaving unresolved issues hanging. Viral momentum showed no signs of slowing, fueling ongoing discussions across platforms. Sponsors' hesitancy grew, with one emailing Giselle about pausing payments pending review. Weeks following the incident unfolded with decisive actions. I blocked their numbers across all platforms, ensuring no further contact could intrude on my routine. Requests for meetings went unanswered as I channeled energy into my teaching position, earning $60,000 yearly through lesson planning and student evaluations. Weekly therapy sessions at $200 each became a staple, helping unpack the emotional layers without external interference. A small victory came soon after with a promotion to department coordinator, adding $5,000 to my annual pay and affirming my professional growth. Giselle faced the full brunt of cancel culture's repercussions, losing a major $50,000 contract with a prominent Miami skincare brand that cited reputational risks. Her income plummeted from $150,000 to around $50,000, forcing cutbacks on collaborations and content production. Agencies hesitated on new offers, leaving her to manage dwindling sponsorships independently. The financial strain showed in her reduced output, with posts becoming sporadic amid the scrutiny. Dad's condition deteriorated into a hospital stay for stress-induced heart palpitations, incurring $30,000 in medical bills covered partially by insurance per 2025 U.S. healthcare data from the Kaiser Family Foundation. Tests revealed elevated blood pressure tied to recent family pressures, requiring ongoing medications and follow-ups. Mom's vague social media status about perseverance amid challenges backfired spectacularly, drawing critical responses that eroded her business network. Longtime associates distanced themselves, resulting in lost referrals for Dad's firm and canceled joint ventures. My life with Heath flourished in our shared apartment near the Miami coast, where we invested $500 in new furnishings like a comfortable reading chair overlooking the water. The freedom felt tangible in daily choices, from morning jogs along the beach to evening meals prepared together without obligations. Reflecting on the path, I acknowledged one key mistake: I waited too long, but now I'm done embracing the release from those ties. These shifts marked a complete severance, allowing me to prioritize personal milestones over familial demands. Heath's partnership provided stability, our routines syncing effortlessly in the new space. The promotions' added responsibilities brought fulfillment, with student feedback highlighting my impact in the classroom. Therapy sessions delved into setting boundaries, reinforcing decisions made. Giselle's attempts at recovery involved pivoting to niche audiences, but the income gap persisted, compelling her to seek alternative revenue streams like freelance consulting. Dad's recovery involved lifestyle adjustments, including reduced work hours that affected his earnings, while Mom navigated social isolation by limiting online presence. Their collective challenges underscored the consequences of unchecked patterns. In building independence, I explored hobbies like photography classes, spending modestly on equipment that enriched weekends. Heath encouraged these pursuits, sharing in activities that strengthened our bond. The apartment's view served as a daily reminder of progress waves, symbolizing steady forward motion. From this experience, I learned that self-respect forms the foundation to avoid manipulation in family relationships. Set boundaries early to safeguard mental health and finances, delivering empowerment value for anyone facing similar dynamics. Thank you for watching the entire story. I truly appreciate your time. Please subscribe to the channel for more real-life tales and comment below to share your own lessons.